Interesting. You're here. Who invited you to this committee hearing today, Mr. Isaacson?
The minority party.
Yeah, it's interesting. You're here as a spokesman for the minority party. I just want to make sure the record's clear on this. The spokesman for the minority party is advising the Senate that the Lake and Riley Act is a bad idea and we ought to stop it. The spokesman for the minority party is saying that Lake and Riley's death and migrant crime is not an actual issue. I can't frankly believe that I am hearing these words. You said it's not an actual issue. I read you the quote.
Lake and Riley's death was not an actual issue.
You said that the murder of a nursing student in Georgia has a lot of people on the right talking about migrant crime. You put it in quotation marks, square quotes, like it's an actual issue. She's dead because of migrant crime, right? Let's try something else.
Chaos straight up exploded inside the Senate hearing room as Senator Josh Hawley unleashed one of the most intense takedowns of the year. The witness, Mr. Isaacson, had previously dismissed the brutal murder of Lake and Riley, a young nursing student, as not an actual issue, and waved away concerns about migrant crime like it was no big deal. But Hawley, armed with cold, hard receipts, refused to let those words evaporate into political spin. He lifts photos of victims, starting with Lake and Riley, then 12-year-old Travis Wolfe, killed by an illegal migrant who was also unlawfully paroled. Hawley demands answers, voice steady, but cutting like steel. Then he moves from questioning to full confrontation, revealing the jaw-dropping truth. This Democrat-invited witness came to Capitol Hill specifically to advise U.S. senators to vote down a bill that would deport criminal illegal aliens. The Lake and Riley Act, named after an American daughter stolen far too soon, hangs in the balance as Hawley presses harder. No mercy. Let's dive in.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thanks for calling this hearing. Mr. Isaacson, if I could just start with you. In March of 2024, you wrote, "The murder of a nursing student in Georgia has a lot of people on the right talking about migrant crime like it's an actual issue." That'd be Lake and Riley you were talking about?
Lake and Riley was an unusual case.
Yeah, here, let's have a look. Here's Lake and Riley.
Yes.
Her murder, her horrific murder at the hands of this illegal migrant who was also unlawfully paroled in the United States. Her death, not an actual issue?
It's a tragedy.
But not an actual issue?
Migrant crime is much less of an issue than U.S. citizen committed crime.
Not an actual issue? Those are your words. Her death, not an actual issue. I just want to get, no, you say.
Of course it's an issue. It's a tragedy.
So what do you mean by your post? It's not an actual issue, meaning we shouldn't be paying attention to it. Senate's wasting its time this week on the Lake and Riley Act that would address the circumstances of her murder. What's your advice to us? We just discontinue those proceedings now?
I think the Lake and Riley Act could do a lot of harm. It would allow me to say, oh, this person shoplifted, and that would be enough probable cause to get somebody deported.
Interesting. You're here. Who invited you to this committee hearing today, Mr. Isaacson?
The minority party.
Yeah, it's interesting. You're here as a spokesman for the minority party. I just want to make sure the record's clear on this. The spokesman for the minority party is advising the Senate that the Lake and Riley Act is a bad idea and we ought to stop it. The spokesman for the minority party is saying that Lake and Riley's death and migrant crime is not an actual issue. I can't frankly believe that I am hearing these words. You said it's not an actual issue. I read you the quote.
Lake and Riley's death was not an actual issue.
You said that the murder of a nursing student in Georgia has a lot of people on the right talking about migrant crime. You put it in quotation marks, square quotes, like it's an actual issue. She's dead because of migrant crime, right? Let's try something else. Here, do you know who this is? Do you know who this young man is?
I do not.
Travis Wolfe, 12 years old, from my state, murdered by an illegal migrant who was also, like Jose Ibarra, illegally paroled by the last administration.
Is your expectation that zero migrants?
Let me tell you what my expectation is that those who commit crimes in this country will be appropriately dealt with. Absolutely. And that we should not be allowing migrants who commit crimes into this country. And that, yes, migrant crime that kills people like Travis Wolfe, whose death was shocking, whose death is inexplicable, indefensible. I actually do think, yes, I think it's an actual, wait a minute, it's my time, Mr. Isaacson. I actually think, and I want the record to be clear on this, that migrant crime is a real issue. I think the Lake and Riley Act is absolutely necessary. In fact, I propose an amendment to the Lake and Riley Act that will cover people like Travis Wolfe. I think that ICE ought to be required to detain those illegal migrants who commit violent crimes against children, like Travis Wolf. And yes, I happen to think, as a former prosecutor, I happen to think that their violent murders are actual issues. And the fact that you would say otherwise, sit here and advise the Senate that the Lake and Riley Act is a bad idea, that the whole thing is not an actual issue, tell us what, made up, I think is outrageous. I think it's absolutely outrageous. And the fact that you were invited here to give this testimony is stunning to me, I have to say. Absolutely stunning to me. Mr. Kuchin,
Josh Hawley closed that hearing with unwavering conviction, making it crystal clear. The safety of the American people is not up for debate or negotiation. He rejected every single attempt to downplay migrant crime, calling out the shocking dismissal of the tragic deaths of Laken Riley and 12-year-old Travis Wolf. Hawley affirmed loud and clear, their lives mattered, their stories mattered, and the failures that allowed their killers into this country absolutely matter. He exposed how radical witnesses and partisan advisors tried to convince lawmakers that deporting criminal illegal migrants would somehow do harm, while innocent American families are the ones left shattered by unbearable loss. Hawley refused to let political spin erase the truth. He reminded the entire Senate that the Lake and Riley Act isn't just another bill, it's a necessary shield for American communities that have already paid too high a price. With the precision of a former prosecutor and the raw passion of someone who genuinely cares about victims, Hawley dismantled every excuse thrown in front of him. He made it unmistakable. Preventing violent criminals from entering and remaining in the United States is not extreme. It's common sense. It's basic responsibility. Hawley stood shoulder to shoulder with the victims, their grieving families, and every American who deserves a government willing to put their safety above politics, above optics, above everything else. His message rang out loud and clear. Migrant crime is an actual issue. Accountability is long overdue. And protecting American lives must come first. No apologies, no excuses, no retreat. That's what real leadership looks like in that room.